Okay, welcome everyone to the Europe and the Islamic World Pre-Departure Orientation. In the Europe and the Islamic World seminar, we will be going to France, Morocco, Gibraltar, and Spain. The program runs December 28th to January 15th, 2017. I would like to introduce first the professors and staff. So Dr. Karl Gibran, who is on the call, he is the president of IAU College and the program director of the J-Term seminar. There's also Professor Abubakar Jamai. He is the Dean of School of Business and International Relations at IAU College. And then there's also Dr. Lori Willard, who's going to be joining us from Colorado University of Denver. For your staff, there's going to be Yamina Ludell, who's going to be an on-site coordinator throughout the program. There's also going to be myself, Ariana, and I am the coordinator of admissions, and I will be your on-site coordinator after Paris. And then also Alicia Frater, who is assistant director of IU College, and she is the on-site coordinator in Paris. And then there's also Miss Jessica Ahrens, and she is the CIS Abroad Program Manager. And then there's also Hannah Chong, who is the CIS Australia Program Manager. And Jessica is also on this call as well.
Hi, everyone.
So I'll go ahead and start with going over some of our post-acceptance materials that will be needed at this point. So you should have already submitted your passport copy and your travel itinerary on your My IAU portal. You should also have already sent in your student photo. Please go ahead and send those items in if you have not done so already. You will also need, for the IAU college students, you also need a physician statement and post-acceptance waivers. So please go ahead and submit those if you have not. So for the expectations of the program, every day has a scheduled activity and or travel. We do recommend that you read your assignments prior to the trip and complete assignments in the evening because the days will be pretty busy with different activities. And there's not a lot of free time outside of what is scheduled for the courses, so just be prepared for that, and your days will be focused on field trips and group discussions. Carl, would you like to add anything about the expectations of the program?
Sure. Thank you, Ariana. Indeed, the days are quite packed. When we say free time, there will be indicated in the syllabus some free time in Paris and some free time in the larger cities that we're visiting. And that's usually in between lectures or in between a visit. For example, in Paris, you might go to the Institute of the Arab World in the morning, and you might have a 2-hour visit there, and then we may give you 3 hours to 4 hours to visit the city. That's going to be your free time, and then you're due back in the later afternoon for a lecture or another visit. And so the free time is usually in between lectures, in between site visits. If we're visiting the mosque in Cordoba, we might do that in the morning and then give you free time for lunch and then meet back to hop on the bus and go to Granada, for example. So when you see free time, it is a limited amount of free time, as Ariana said. It's not going to be an entire day. As you know, this is less than a 3-week program. It's quite compact. In order for us to get the contact hours necessary to justify 3 units of credit, we absolutely have to meet for the required times indicated in the syllabus. And the readings are heavy. There's a lot of reading, but I don't want you to be too intimidated by that. We'll walk you through them. You'll have lots of lectures on the readings. And if you have time to read as much as possible before the trip begins, I would advise you to do so. And also reading in the evenings and during the travel from the planes, trains, and buses that we're on. Many students do read while we're traveling. Go ahead, Ariane. I'll continue in a moment.
Okay, great. Thanks, Carl. Hold on one sec. Okay, so moving on for academics and course delivery. So the format are primarily the site visits, the walking tours, and the museums. So the requirements will be, formatted in participation, readings, discussions, writing assignments, and then the final paper.
Yes,
Um, I'll see if Carl wants to elaborate on that.
absolutely. Thank you for that, Ariana.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. So um, I'll start from the very end and work backwards. Here it says final paper. We usually give students an additional 2 weeks to complete that final paper since you won't have time to write and do the additional reading necessary on the trip. And so we'll all return back to our home institutions or back to the United States or Australia, wherever you might be from, and you'll receive an email from myself and the staff with a paper prompt. And the paper prompt will have a detailed analysis of how to do the paper. And usually we give around 2 weeks for you to do that and turn it in directly to me. Beyond the final paper, there will be just a couple of writing assignments that you'll do on the road. Usually those are just reaction papers, maybe a paragraph, maybe answering some questions. The questions will be sent to you in advance on the readings. Those are mandatory. You'll have to do all of the questions. You'll find that answering the questions in writing will help you with the final paper and will serve as sort of prep work for the completion of the final paper. And also, there's something else that is not on here, but it's because they're small, but they're necessary. They're the quizzes that we'll be taking along uh, during the program. And those quizzes are just to initiate discussion for the students and with the academic staff. And so what we might do is we might tell you in advance, tomorrow or the following day, you'll have a short quiz on one of the readings, so please come prepared. And usually we'll take the quiz and then correct it together and go over the questions in class and use that as a pedagogical sort of approach to the assignments so that we're all learning together. The overall objective of this course is to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing. This is not the type of course where we're looking to fail anyone or we're looking to decrease the number of students who are successful. This is not the objective of IAU, nor is it the objective of the course. These seminars are set up in such a way to heighten your sensibility to culture, to cross-cultural politics and history, and we want to make sure that everybody on the program understands the readings and understands the discussions. And so a lot of time will be taken to discuss and to analyze and dissect everything that we're doing. Participation is very important. I can't impress upon you how crucial participation is. And it's not just passive participation in terms of standing in one of the sites and observing or taking notes, but it's also processing what you see and being able to explain it to one another. We feel strongly at IAU that one of the ways students learn is to explain the material to one another and then explain it to us in writing, for example. So there will be a lot of discussion, group work together on the trip. There will be time to do this in the evenings, after the lunches, after the dinners, before the site visits, before the walking tours. This is one of the most intensive academic programs you'll ever be in, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you, Carl. So moving on the academics component, if you are sick, please know that we do still require you to participate in all scheduled events. Of course, this is within reason. If you are very ill, please let us know, and we will take that on a case-by-case basis. But just know that, when you're traveling to different countries and different weather climates, it's, very typical that you might feel a little under the weather or whatnot, but please know that it's very important that you still participate in all scheduled events because it's a very condensed itinerary. Be prepared for intellectual, linguistic, social, and travel challenges. Participate during site visits, seminars, and lectures. Please submit assignments and papers by the deadlines. And demonstrate respect and courteous behavior to your fellow classmates. And of course, have fun. Um,
That's great.
Carl, do you have anything else?
Sure, absolutely. Last year we did have a couple of students get sick. Usually it was just the flu or a stomach flu. And Ariana was resourceful enough to find one of the best doctors on the trip. This was, I think, in Seville, Spain that it happened.
Yep.
And the doctors in Europe will make house calls, and in Morocco, by the way. And so, in the 12 years that I've been doing this program, it has happened that we've had some doctors come and do a house call to the hotel or to wherever we're staying, and they are able to prescribe medicine, and usually the students are feeling better within the day or within a day. So don't worry too much about that. But Ariane, are you going to cover medicine in general later on, or should I just touch on it here in terms of bringing medication with them?
You can go ahead and touch on it now. We can just skip. It's later in the slides, but we can
Okay.
just go over it. That's
I was
fine.
just I was just going to say, if you are on any medications, make sure you bring enough with you on the trip, because if you don't have a prescription in Europe, it's hard to get that same medication while you're there. So if you are taking a thyroid medication, or if you're taking some acid reflux medication, whatever it might be that you need on a daily basis, make sure you pack enough for the 17 or 18 days that we're abroad, and maybe take some extra with you. So let me go back to this academic page, though. I really like what Ariana put here in terms of demonstrate respect and courteous behavior to fellow classmates. Some of the topics we're discussing are quite controversial. This course is called Europe and the Islamic World. Given what's going on today in Europe in terms of immigration, in terms of the great animosity that is felt by the Europeans from immigrants coming not just from Syria, but from the traditional North African countries. Some of the discussions we have could get heated. Some of the discussions we have could get intellectually interesting, but we always move forward in a courteous way, and with great respect towards our classmates and their political and cultural views. Now, that being said, we certainly will try to guide you with as much historical and political context, so that you are working from a very informed framework and informed background. But we do encourage lots of engagement and lots of participation among the students, and we will allow the students to engage in debate. But we hope that that debate is respectful and courteous. In terms of the submission of assignments and papers, I know that Ariana will touch on this a little bit later, but some students do bring iPads and computers. It certainly is safe for you to do so. I will be bringing my computer and my iPad. Usually it's just so that I can read some of the materials on the iPad. You don't need to bring all the books with you in hard copy unless you prefer to read them that way. Some of the books I know you can't download completely onto an e-reader or an iPad, so you will want to bring the hard copy. But I will be bringing my computer as well, just because as president of the institute, I need to stay in touch with colleagues abroad and check email every now and then. The computers are quite useful in terms of submitting your work. Many of the students last year, instead of handwriting their reaction papers or their questions to the readings, would email them to me from their computer. And that works just fine. So there will be Wi-Fi just about everywhere we go, so the computers are fine if you want to bring your computer. If you have a very large and cumbersome computer, I wouldn't recommend bringing it, because it adds additional weight and it could be a burden for you to carry around. But a small laptop and a small iPad, I think, will be just fine. Okay. Go ahead, Ariana, to the next slide.
Sure. So this is about arrival information in Paris. So you will be arriving Tuesday, December 28th between 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. please let us know if you're having any problems finding a flight that arrives in that time frame, and we can go from there. But that is the preferred time frame. So students who wish to travel back to the hotel with an IAU representative, and this IAU representative will be Ms. Alicia Frater, you should meet at the RER ticket counter in Terminal 2, excuse me, in Charles de Gaulle Airport. Ali will be waiting there with an IAU sign until 11 a.m. Students who arrive after 11 a.m. will be responsible for their own travel to the hotel. Those wishing to go directly to the hotel may do so as well if you do not want to wait until 11 a.m. with Ali. Please note that all students are responsible for covering their transportation to the hotel. So the cost of the shuttle is less than 20 euros. There's a couple options from Charles de Gaulle Airport to our hotel. So you can do the Air France shuttle. It does not matter if you flew Air France or not, and this shuttle actually is available at every terminal. It's very easy, it departs very frequently, and like we said, it's less than 20 euros. So that is a great opportunity to do. It drops off right by the hotel. And you can also do the RER, which is the train that will go into into Paris as well. And we will be emailing more details on the exact stop and the exact places where you can get your shuttle and where you can meet Ali. In the coming days, we'll be emailing all that out. But feel free to, at the end of the presentation, you can write in any questions if you're concerned about this. But I do assure you, it's much easier to find the shuttle than it will be to find Ali down in the RER station, because sometimes it can get confusing where to find the RER. We just think that the shuttle tends to be easier to find, but of course you can do a little research ahead of time, and all the information is definitely available, and we're happy to help as well. So, and then the departure from Madrid will be Sunday, January 15th. And they're pretty reasonable, and you can also coordinate with other students. We will also be available to help, but in a limited capacity, because we will also be going off to other locations as well. So, but just know that we are there to help you as needed. The Facebook group is a fantastic resource to coordinate this, so feel free to, post on there if you're worried about, arrival or departure, to coordinate with people, and that is more than welcome. Does anyone have anything to add about that? Okay. So the packing list, this is a tricky program to pack for because you're going in several different climates. So I do encourage you to check the weather, of the different locations that you're going to be going to. Paris tends to be quite chilly this time of year that you're going to be going, where Morocco tends to be quite warm. So what we do recommend is pack light if possible, as much as possible. We understand this is difficult, but it really will benefit you in the end, because sometimes you will be expected to manage your suitcase for, not extremely long periods of time in the street or anything like that, but you'll need to be able to manage it when needed. So you don't want an extremely heavy suitcase, as it might, bring you down with the weight. And also the fees for an overweight luggage can be quite high. So we do recommend a warm coat and jacket. You may need gloves, hat, and scarf, so please be prepared with that. Layers tend to be the best that you could pack because of the changing climates. We cannot reiterate this enough. We're going to be walking a lot. So make sure you pack sturdy and comfortable walking shoes. You're going to want to make sure these are your good shoes that are broken into already, because we will be walking a ton. I do recommend bringing an umbrella and waterproof shoes, because it does tend to rain in some of these places, in particular Spain. I remember last year it rained quite a bit. Again, it varies year from year, but it does rain quite a bit in this time that you'll be going. Glasses, contacts, if this applies to you. Please keep in mind that due to travel regulations, you have to have your toiletries in a quart-size bag. And please be prepared for the amount that you can travel on the plane. So obviously you can pack larger amounts of liquids in your suitcase, but just remember that there's restrictions on how much liquid you can bring in your carry-on. Make sure you have your chargers for your, MP3 player, iPod, camera, iPhone, whatever it is, computer, iPad, whatever. And also, we do recommend bringing an emergency kit. So, like Dr. Jabran discussed a little bit earlier, it's difficult to get the same medication that you're used to abroad. They don't have the exact same thing. And this, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, there's, it's not the exact same things that you're used to. So if you use aspirin for a headache that you occasionally get, then make sure you have that. If you get motion sickness, make sure you have that. If you take Pepto-Bismol when you are not feeling well, make sure you have that, because it is harder to find the exact thing that you're used to abroad. I know we already touched on this, but laptop computer we do recommend. But like Dr. Jabran said, if you have a very large laptop, maybe double think, okay, if you have an iPad as an alternative. You may need some form of electronic, though, to catch up on the readings and follow along in lecture. So we do recommend something, but just be mindful of the weight restrictions. So be prepared that some of the flights, in particular the flight from Marseille to Morocco, you only can have 20 kilograms, which is just around 44 pounds. So this is a little less than probably what your restriction will be coming over to Europe. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Would you like to add?
I just want to add one more thing in terms of the clothing. I really appreciate you touching on the students staying warm, because it does get cold and it does get wet. One of the things I want to remind everyone is that we'll be traveling through 4 countries, and we'll also be attending lots of lectures and going to sites where you may want to dress a little bit more conservatively. And so, try and avoid very short skirts or short pants, or what do you call those? Spaghetti straps. And I don't think anyone will wear those. It's going to be cold anyway. But even if it is a warm day, you don't want to attract too much attention to yourself. You want to dress like the locals dress. And so you'll probably notice in Europe people are dressed a little bit more conservatively and dressed more fashionably. And when I say fashionably, I mean to say that they may not wear tennis shoes as much as we wear tennis shoes, or flip-flops, for example. I would advise completely against flip-flops, by the way. And if you do wear tennis shoes, make sure they are a darker colored tennis shoe, because Americans tend to wear white sneakers or tennis shoes, and it does attract attention to yourself as an American. And we are a large group, and we want to blend in as much as possible. So, scarves and hats are helpful, because everyone in Europe and Morocco wears hats and scarves. And it'll be a little cooler, especially in northern in the north, in Paris and in Madrid. I hate to call Madrid the north, but it is north of Morocco. And then in Morocco, it'll be a little bit warmer, although last year we had one cold day in Morocco. So just keep that in mind, not just in terms of warmth, but also in terms of fashion and dressing a little bit more conservatively for the visits into the mosques and the temples and the churches. And also, we talked a little bit about free time. Last year, the students did go out, I think, once or twice to a nightclub, and that's okay. We're not going to discourage you from going out to a nightclub. It does happen. But remember that the European nightclubs tend to be a little bit more choosy in terms of who they let in, and if you're not dressed well, they will not let you in. And so some of our young men and women were shocked to hear that when they arrived there, they wouldn't let them in because they were wearing sweatpants or tennis shoes. And so just keep that in mind. You definitely want to pack a nice pair of shoes, a nice outfit or two, and also during some of the lectures, we'll be meeting high-profile officials, politicians. authors, and you might want to look nice for those lectures as well. Okay.
Yes, very good points. Thank you. Okay, so now for the packing list. Travel documents. I know we already touched on this, but passport, please bring your driver's license. It's always good to have two forms of identification along with your passport. Please bring your insurance information. That information will be emailed to you within this week, and please have two copies of it. So keep an electronic copy, and please print a copy and keep that with you as well. Please print the emergency contacts form, which you will also have a link. Well, it is in the Dropbox, so you should already have that link. Print it, make sure somebody at home has it, and make sure you have it an electronic and paper copy. Please bring your student ID, or I believe you might be getting IAUID cards as well, but please bring both, because again, more forms of identification is helpful. We already touched on prescriptions, and then your printed itinerary for arrival and departure. So that's also been emailed. So please let me know if you have any questions about that, but just make sure that you've already, sent your itinerary to us, and you also know who's meeting you and where they're meeting you, or if you're going straight to the hotel, etc., etc. Like we said, make multiple copies of each. Please keep them in your carry-on bag or in your wallet. Dr. Gibran, do you have anything else you'd like to add about the travel documents?
Just one more thing about the student
Sure.
IDs. Your university student ID or a general student ID is very helpful. Last year, it facilitated our entry into a couple of different sites because we were a very large group. And since we were a student group, they let us go first, but we had to show student IDs. So yes, do bring those with you and keep them on your person at all times.
Great. So for technology, phones, Wi-Fi, and devices, we do recommend that you contact your provider to get your phone unlocked and see what options you have for international plans and check your international rates. We want to reiterate that we must be able to reach you in an emergency. So putting your phone on airplane mode when you arrive to avoid any charges, I understand that, but that we really do not want you to do that, because then we cannot contact you and you cannot contact us if you need to. So contact your phone provider, see what options you have, make sure your phone's unlocked, and there's different ways that you can do it. You can turn off your roaming data so you won't get charged for data. And then there's other ways where you can set it where you only get charged if you take the call or if you make the call. But if somebody calls you and you don't answer, then you wouldn't be charged, something like that. Also, just know that if you're in Wi-Fi and you have an iPhone, you can iMessage and FaceTime, and I'm sure the same goes for Droid. I'm sure they have other methods of getting, you can use WhatsApp or whatnot to contact, family and friends and whatnot. But just want to reiterate, we absolutely need to be able to contact you and vice versa in an emergency. So have that ready, have that prepared, contact your phone provider for that. Electronics can be stored in your room or at your reception, as Dr. Gibran said. He's going to be bringing his electronics. I will also be bringing my electronics. I haven't had any problems with this, so let us know if you're nervous about it. But we trust the hotels that we're at, so we feel confident that you can store your electronics there. Like we said, we recommend bringing a laptop if it's not too cumbersome. You will need an adapter and converter for electronics. You can buy these on Amazon, Target, Walmart. They're very available. So Wi-Fi will be available at most J-term hotels. Sometimes the Wi-Fi can be spotty, though, so I do want to make that really clear. Sometimes it can be a hit or miss with the Wi-Fi. We try really hard to make sure that everybody has Wi-Fi at all times at the hotels, but again, the Wi-Fi reliability in Europe is not as good as what we're used to in the States, so just keep that in mind. And then for the accommodations, it's usually 2 to 3 star hotels, student resident in Aix-en-Provence. This actually does not apply to you guys. You guys will just be in hotels because we won't be staying at X very long. You'll have potentially singles, doubles, triples, or quads. We have already assigned everybody to a roommate. If you do want to switch, just please let us know, and that's up to your guys' discretion. That's fine. Linens and everything will be provided at the hotels. Obviously, if you put down a roommate preference, it's considered, but please, it's not guaranteed. But we'll try our best to make that happen for you. So, but of course, if you do want to switch or something comes up, just let us know. Okay. Finances. This is something that you'll want to pay close attention to. So you're going to want to let your bank know that you'll be traveling internationally. This is to avoid them freezing your account because if banks don't know that you're traveling abroad, they do tend to put a hold on the account to avoid fraud. So let your bank know you're going to be traveling. You will need to give them the full travel dates of your trip. So most foreign ATMs do require a PIN to take out money. So and a PIN that does not begin with 0. So please just make sure that you have your PIN set up. You know your bank's potential foreign transaction fees and charges, and you know how you're going to be able to take money out. Your ATM card should work in Europe. There may be fees. Like I said, you're just going to want to contact your bank and just clarify what fees you might come across and which ATMs, if there's any partnerships with foreign ATMs and whatnot. You can buy euros from your bank before you leave, so you would already have them when you arrive. We recommend doing this at least a week before departure, but this is an option. I would just say, from experience, be careful with how much money you're carrying on you. I would personally recommend just getting your euros out when you're there in smaller amounts. I understand that might come with extra fees when you take your money out, but I just think it's better to not travel with too much money on you. But Dr. Gibran can elaborate on that. And then, of course, there's going to be ATMs that you can withdraw your euros from. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Gibran.
Sure. Thank you, Ariana. All very good points. Yeah, I would recommend you bring a little bit with you, if possible, some euros. If not, you can change at the airport or pull money out of the ATM. Now, it is true that more and more these days, students are not bringing as many dollars with them as they used to. They're just pulling money directly out of the ATM. And I think that's wise. It's harder to find change booths, and it's harder to find banks that will change money without a large fee. And so your best rates are going to be through the ATMs, actually. And it is the safest way to transfer money and get money out of the banks. That being said, of course, I do agree with Ariana that you shouldn't take out too much money and carry too much money around with you, which means you will make more trips to the ATM and you will incur, $2 or $3 charges. But believe me, it's worth it to incur those small fees than it is to risk flashing too much cash out of your wallet or out of your purse. So keep that in mind. Again, when we're in Morocco and Gibraltar, the currencies are different there. So in Morocco, they do not use the euro. They use the dirham, and the dirham is I think at 8 or 9 to the dollar right now. You can check the rates online, but you can pull money out of the ATMs in Morocco as well. They're very safe. That's how I get my money. You don't need to change euros. You should hold on to your euros while you're in Morocco so that you can use them when you get back into Spain. And so those are just some things to keep in mind that you should let your banks know that you're going to Spain, France, Gibraltar, and Morocco. Believe it or not, if they see you in Gibraltar trying to pull money out of the ATMs there, because you'll need Gibraltarian, what do you call them, pounds, because they're on the British system. The Gibraltarian pound is what they use there. Your bank might flag your card, because Gibraltar is one of those places that not that many people go to, especially from the United States. And so definitely let your bank know you'll be going to all of these places so that they unlock all of your cards and keep them that way for the dates that you'll be abroad. Okay?
Thank you. Okay, on to health and safety. We recommend that you register with the STEP program. This is the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. This will keep you updated with important safety, security announcements. It also helps your friends and family get in touch with you if there's an emergency. We did include the link here, but also if you just Google, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program or STEP, it will come up. We really urge you to do that. So please go ahead and do that if you have not already. You are automatically enrolled in our insurance policy, so you don't need to worry about that. Please tell staff and fellow students where you are going in the evening. Travel in groups in the evening and always be aware of your surroundings. I'm sure Dr. Gibran's going to elaborate on that, but definitely do not go out by yourself. I would not recommend that. So just, travel in groups, make sure people know where you are. You can always, you'll have my contact information, and you can always send me a text or an email. Here's where I'm going tonight, we're going here, whatever, and that's totally fine. And then, of course, leave a copy of your travel documents with your emergency contact. So if that's, at home or, someone back home really is ideal. So, Dr. Gibran, want to elaborate?
No, I think everything you touched on is great. I think that's all perfect. Health and
Okay.
safety is very important to us, and we always believe in the buddy system, whether it's our semester programs or long summer programs. And these J terms are different in that you're mostly traveling with the group, and there will always be staff and faculty around you. But it is true that during your free time, if you do wander off, you should stay with one or two other friends and make sure you let people know where you have gone during your free time. That is very important. And then I'll just touch quickly on the importance of keeping your roommates informed and your group leaders informed, and showing up on time to the bus in the morning or the airport, etc. Those are all ways that keep all of us safe, because if we have to leave the group to go find you, that puts the group in jeopardy as well. So it's very important to be mindful that we are together as one group, and for the safety of everyone, you want to look after yourself and look after your friends.
Absolutely. Okay, and then the final slide are the emergency contacts. So your main on-site contacts are going to be Dr. Carl Gibran and then myself, Ariana Zabriskie. I do encourage you to go ahead and add my number to your phone. I will be on WhatsApp, so if you choose to use WhatsApp, I do have an iPhone, so if you're going to be iMessaging, that's fine too. Just remember, it's only free if you're on Wi-Fi, so just keep that in mind. And then we do have U.S. contacts as well, so you can go ahead and keep the contact for Ms. Rebecca Coyle. She is going to be off-site in the U.S., but of course is available if any emergencies come up. And then our CIS contacts, Ms. Jessica Ahrens and Hannah Chong. Jessica, do you want them to, add your number or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We also have, here at CIS Abroad, we have an emergency phone that's operated. We have somebody on it 24/7, and the number for that is 413-210-7091, and all of our students will be getting that in their like pre-departure packet as well. So feel free to call that 24/7 if you can't get in touch with anyone. We're more than happy to assist as well.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. See, I guess at this point we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Students, you can go ahead and type in your questions if you have any. I don't see any questions coming through, so.
I had one student email me a question about laundry. Do you recommend that students, bring enough clothes so that they don't have to do laundry, or will they be able to visit laundromats while they're on site?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
that's a good question. I will usually do laundry once or twice on the trip, and I will bring enough clothes to last me through most of the trip. But everyone has that favorite shirt or those favorite pants they like to wear, and so they might want to launder them. Most of the hotels will have laundry service. It's not cheap, it does add up. Or there are laundromats just down the street in some of the places that we're going to, where you can go launder your clothes. Some students have been doing laundry at the hotels just in the sink. It's okay to do a little bit of laundry in the sink, maybe some socks and underwear and some t-shirts and things like that. I wouldn't recommend washing a pair of jeans in there because we move around so quickly that we're not going to spend more than in some places we're only there one night, in other places we're there 2 to 3 nights. But remember that if you do wash things in your hotel room, they need to dry before we leave. Just keep that in mind. But again, layering is good when you're traveling for this kind of trip. So you don't want to pack too many bulky clothes. You may want to pack some light clothes that you layer, several t-shirts and sweatshirts over the t-shirts, and maybe a jacket over the sweatshirt kind of thing, with scarves and hats, and that should keep you warm and safe during the trip.
Great. We do have one other question that came in, and it reads, what is the format for French students?
For students taking the class in French?
I believe so, yes. Please.
Yes, so last year we had a couple of students taking the course for French studies and a couple taking it actually for Spanish studies. And for those students, we'll try and do as many of the readings in French, and of course there will be lectures that you attend that are going to be in French, and then they will be translated for some of the students. And then we will try and have some discussion groups in French for those students as well. Your final paper and your questions will be written out in French as well, if you're taking the course for French studies. Right?
Great.
Some of the readings, I imagine, if I can think off the top of my head, most of the readings you can get in French. The Orientalism book is, the translation is not as good as I had hoped in French, because he wrote it in English. But if you want to try reading it in French, that's fine. You may want to get a copy in English as well, just in case, because it is a highly theoretical book. And so he may use a lot of jargon that you might not be familiar with, even if you are studying French. And I'll walk you through that as well. But most of the other books you should be able to get in French.
Great. Okay. I don't see any other questions coming through, so I believe that is the end of our presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ariana. Thank you, Jessica and Anna.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if there are any other questions from students, we'd be happy to answer them via email at any time.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.